We're going to do that. So,
Okay.
welcome everyone. We actually tried to live stream this, but there were issues. So we are recording this for you guys. This is Codes of Creation number 19 and 20. And this is all about sacred geometry and numerology and how they create. So I brought with me today Mathew and David, and I'm just going to mute you guys real quick. I brought David Hopkins and Mathew with me because they have much more expertise in this area. And I love talking about all the codes of creation, but I'm coming from more of a place of integrity with the other ones that I've shared than with this one. So I wanted to bring some experts in to share with you how sacred geometry and numerology create. And as Mathew will probably explain, that numerology and sacred geometry are actually kind of one and the same thing. But we're going to start off with David. David, I'm going to have you unmute yourself and share with us your thoughts and your feelings on how numerology and sacred geometry create.
Thank you, Susie, very much. Mathew, brother, it's going to be wonderful hearing from you. I mean, like you don't even know. Sacred G, I have no, what do you call it, formal training. I have drawing pictures and meditation and then absorption of information. How Sacred G creates, starting from the 0 point field, but not, energy itself, the very base of the energy itself. Energy is not dark energy, energy is not light energy, energy is just energy, and the perception creates. Again, it used to be quantum theory that we are the observer, and then they're like, hey, quantum physics. I'm like, aren't you the same thing? We are the observer, and our perception creates reality. So we are the creators, we are the creation, and we are Sacred G. I mean, our whole body, everything in life is Sacred G. So Sacred G creates the life itself, starting from a 0 point, starting from a, I don't know what the term for the very, very, very first particle is. I don't know what the term is. I don't know if it's quantum. I don't know if it's imagination. But the very, very, very base particle starts with your sacred geometry. Now see, and math, see, everybody's like, well, it started with a point, which is actually 1D. And then it went this way, which is 2D, in some beliefs, some theories. Wherever it started, it became, well, I'm, because we say sacred, I don't know the definition of sacred, but sacred to me would be truth. That would be very sacred. And geometry is just making a bunch of shapes. And so it starts with the very, very point.
David, when you say that our body is sacred geometry, can you go into that a little bit deeper? That's really important.
It's not just our body, it's all body of life. We start from the perineum. That is where we start. We start with the, again, conception. We start with the perception. And it begins in our perineum. And they say the first 8 cells and things like that, they're just drawing pictures. I haven't seen them. I've seen pictorials and pictographs of them, but with these eyes, I haven't seen them. With these 3, I have.
So when you're saying that, I'm thinking about how in science class we learned that 2 cells break apart and one cell breaks apart, becomes 2. Those
they don't break apart.
Become 8. That's a sacred geometry as
Right.
they multiply.
Right. But they don't break apart. And that was, thank you very much for that, Susie. Because when you said we're going to do a conversation on sacred geometry and how it creates, it does create, because it starts from 1 and it becomes the 2. It becomes the 2. It doesn't split apart. It doesn't take away from. It literally duplicates itself. And it moves on. And the 2 become the 4. The 4 become the 8. And it's not taking away. It's not drawing away from. It's actually literally duplicating. And I don't know how the Fibonacci thing goes. And the golden mean, from what I see, they look like the same thing, because they're all in a spiral, and the spiral to me is the 9. Keep it simple, spirit, is what it keeps telling me. And it's the 9, the spiral is the 9. And that's how our bodies grow. Our bodies grow. Who's that guy who drew that picture of the little, your knuckle, and then this, and then your finger, and then your wrist, and then your arm, and then this, and you're like, whoa, that makes a pattern. That makes a pattern. The way a seed grows makes a pattern. And it's all numerology. I'm not a numerologist. I have found out, I guess I'm a very simple mathematician.
Tell us about the 369, because I know that's something that you work with a lot.
If you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. If you knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. They're the same thing. Body, mind, and spirit are the same thing. Numbers are the same thing. It all adds up to the 3, 6, 9. It's the most repetitive. It's Fibonacci going certain decimal points, and this and that, and this and that, all add up to 3, 6, or 9. Now, in spirituality, body, mind, and spirit, balance, the Trinity, call it whatever you will. It's the 3, meaning we are physical, we are mental, and we are energetic. We are physical, we are mental, and we are energetic. The physical is a vibratory frequency. You are vibrating. Your body is a vibration of your mind frequency. This pair of glasses is a pair of glasses because of the vibratory frequency, because of your mind frequency. And the energy, call it what you will. Call it what you want. Call it spirit, call it source, call it higher self, call it angels, call it.
Well, it reminds me, as you speak, of how I was given information about how powerful we as humans are. And we have a lot of power because we are in the physical. So it's great to have the energy. It's great to have the mental energy, but without the physical. So those 3 pieces together really are what gives us power as creators. Now, I'm going to I know there's so much to say.
No, go ahead. I apologize. That's how sacred GE.
That's okay.
And numerology.
I'm going to let Mathew jump in, because I think
yes, please.
something to say at this point.
Please.
Thank you, David.
Oh, yeah, let me mute.
Okay, Mathew, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You want me to comment on that, or do you want me to just sort of say something about what I think it all began with?
Yes. Whatever you feel guided to say.
Yes and yes. Okay. Well, I like following the Gnostic scriptures, because they have a real good cosmological, the cosmology of creation definition. And I find it fascinating that they say everything came from, thought. And, the first cause, you got these different layers of creation that they talk about, and they talk about numbers that are associated with them, so in terms of the splitting, they say the same thing, that there were these creator beings that came from, the mother was one source, and then she basically created 12 consorts, 12 males, because she was lonely. She wanted to experience love. They put a story around the numbers as well. And then she basically had kids with each of them, and it was a one being that was both male and female, and then those duplicated themselves. So it's fascinating that you find a description of the same story. And then those beings are the 24 invisibles, and they're the Elohim, these creator beings that went and created everything. And so I find it fascinating also that when we talk about the 8, those I find that when you attribute proper numbers to axes, points, these spheres and structures that are describing everything, even if you think of string theory, if you had numbers to label it, then you can put a rational understanding to it. And so, the nesting of all these numbers and all these shapes and everything is the divine matrix. And I find it also fascinating that most of the ancients say that numbers created everything, like Pythagoras, who started his mystery school after he was 22 years in Egypt. And he, what's so fascinating about what he taught, we wouldn't know about it if we didn't have other people chiding him for what he believed. Aristotle, oh, he's crazy. He thinks that numbers create everything. And they think that, that there's a number associated with this word and that word. And actually it's all very true, because that's what the body of my work is about, is attaching a formula, a sequence, an understanding to everything. What I also find really thrilling is when we talk about 369, there's another really powerful thing to understand, and that's about 345. You can call it Pythagorean theory, that the Great Pyramid, if you take a 3-4-5 triangle, right, you got 3 squares here, 4 here, and 5 or 4 on this length and 5 on this length, right? And you mirror that out, you get the perfect angle of the Great Pyramid, 51 degrees, right? And so what is interesting about this is that all of the words that describe the numbers in creation, 1 through 9, all sort themselves out into words that are either 3 letters long, 4 letters long, or 5 letters long. So when you look at your 369, you've got that right there. And actually, if you set it in sequence, it would be 6, 9, 3 for 3, 4, 5. And anyway, so when you see the divine intelligence that's organizing everything, which is a lot of what my videos are describing of late, is that there's this great we'll call it a tree of life, and all the fruit that's coming off of this are all these numbers, sequences, like frequency sequences, like 432. But all numbers, echoing what David said, everything comes back to 9. So all numbers, 3 sets of numbers that add up to 9, are more significant and more holy or sacred than all other numbers that do not. So, for example, in my body of work, there's a number 153. And it's interesting because that shows up in different ancient stories. A lot of these numbers, like 72, where does that come from? Why is it they're the sacred names of God? Okay. Well, because they're angles on a compass, creation, 360 degrees, and then when you find certain phrases that describe this story that add up to these 3-digit numbers, it's really powerful. And there begins to be painted a picture that we are in a divine matrix, and all our thoughts do create reality. And when you understand these sequences and number codes, our spoken word is assembling all of our thoughts, right? And so we actually find, if in the research that I've done, that the English language has been constructed in a way that these sacred numbers, that just the words that describe the story, the words themselves have these sacred numbers inside of the word. And it's really profound. And that's where my work really began 20 years ago, when I was looking at certain numbers like left and right. Okay. Left adds up to 7, right adds up to 8. What's 7 plus 8? It's 15, 6. And so the word Merkaba is also, when you break down a word, you're looking at the, I like to call it the male and the female components, the vowels and the consonants. And so it's 7 and 8. And so when you bring those two together, it's basically describing the whole story, that everything in creation is positive and negative, or male and female, or mind and heart. And so when you bring all that together, these stories make sense. These words that we've been given to talk about creation, they all have this sacred understanding. And so it's exciting to see that, this was understood, and we have a great deal of evidence, and that's what I've been putting together. Is
So
proof that's
I'm gonna interrupt because
completely, yeah.
there's so much depth to this. I mean, there's so much. We could talk for hours and hours. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, according to the knowledge that we have so far, how would you say that we can use sacred geometry and numerology to enhance our creations or as part of the creation process? Like, for example, would you take the flower of life, or would you take the seventh seal and put it over a picture that you love of something that you want to see show up in your life? How would you personally, and both of you can answer this in your own way, how would you use sacred geometry and numerology to create?
Well, I definitely believe that our thoughts create reality, and so intention is everything. And so if you want to take something that you consider to be sacred and align it with something else, you're going to imbue that something else, with the positive energy, like remote healing. I do these things, of course. And so it's all about the intention, and there is no space, there is no time. So you're everywhere and every when is what I like to say. And so you'd be surprised, when you think it's possible, it is possible. And, if you don't try it, you can't, you can't be sure, and you can't find out. And so you have to overcome that little fear, that little self-doubt, and try it. And then what you find is, it works.
Awesome. Thank you.
What are your thoughts, David?
First and foremost, draw it. You learn it best, the flower of life, when you draw it. When you draw it, the math will start coming. When you draw it, when you meditate on it, it is a frequency. It absolutely is. If you want to get something with a flower of life on it, look for somebody who handcrafts that stuff. But getting a Metatron's cube or anything like that at a store is perfectly fine too, because it's just all energy. But hey, because they know sacred G, yo, and if they know sacred G, then you want to get something from somebody who knows how to do that stuff, and not just a machine. But unless the person who does it is the one who programmed it, you know what I mean? So, and yeah, put it over everything. It's a frequency. It's literally a frequency. Pictures are frequencies. Frequencies that you can't hear are frequencies. Visuals are frequencies. Taste is a frequency. So yes, absolutely. But it's intent. It is intent. And when you open your heart, and utilize your brain at the same time, kind of like using both lobes, and it comes with it. It comes with the meditation. But when you're meditating, remember, and I cannot say this enough, when you go in and come out, close the door. Okay, but when you go in a meditation, remember and realize this: the next time you go in, and the thing that you've just found is the most earth-shattering information on a universal and multiversal level that anyone has ever come up with. Realize that the next time you go in, that will pale in comparison. So it is always showing more, because we live in an unlimited potential of imagination and realities, multiple realities. So yes, to use it, draw it. Just listen to yourself. You close the door, because you go a little cuckoo if you don't. But sing it. Sing to, like, if you want to purify your water, folks. If you want to purify your water, and you still draw flowers of life, and you still have flowers of life stuff, or sacred geometry. It's not just flower of life, but that's where it began. It's because the 9-pointed star. Guess who's drawing it now? Mathew. I mean, I'm drawing it, and it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because you can't forget the 0. That's the 0, the 0 point where everything comes in, and oh my gosh, the 9. But put it over your water, put it under your water, Put it on your altar, put it on your altar, put it on your bed, put it on your bed. Hang it up. I've got flowers of life all over the place. And I saturate myself with the frequency, but it's the intent, because there is a saying, ask and ye shall receive. If you go into the flower of life expecting something, you will get what you expected.
Beautiful. So this is actually going to be our action step for this week. You guys, I'm going to invite you into an experiment with drawing sacred geometry with your intention of what you're creating. Draw the flower of life, or Matthew, if you hold up your seventh seal closer to the camera, draw the seventh seal. There we go. And practice, with your intention, practice what you are intending, what you are creating and manifesting. Use the sacred geometry and the numerology as you go into that meditative space while you draw. Bring your intention into that while you draw. I love that idea, David. Before we say goodbye, do you have any like final, summary that you want to share with people? Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, I just wanted to say, absolutely, drawing this shape activates consciousness, and sitting on this symbol right here clears chakras, opens up your third eye. Sleeping with it, you have more vivid dreams. So these things really work, absolutely. And drawing them and connecting with the energy we found is profound. So I'm thrilled to be here, and that you're orchestrating this kind of stuff for people to experience. It's an honor to meet you, David, and be, on the path with all these amazing light bearers. So thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for what you contributed to the conversation today. And I know you have so much more to say. So those of you who want to know more about Matthew's work, he has a YouTube channel. And when we post this video, I'll have you put the links and stuff, if you want, under the video, so that people can find out more about your work. I mean, it's really deep, you guys. He goes really in depth. So way more than we can cover today. So thank you, Mathew and David. Any summary words from you?
Just when it comes to sacred geometry, remember the first word. It's very sacred. And if you use it as such, then it will remain sacred. And it is as sacred as you are, because it is where you came from. So treat yourself as though you were sacred. When you go into anything that you draw, anything that you write, because you are creating reality, remember, there is no fixed reality. And in summary, I would like to say, be love and be yourself, because they're both one and the same.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, David. Wow. So again, this was Codes of Creation number 19 and 20. If you missed all of the other videos, you can find them by scrolling way back in my Facebook, by going onto my YouTube. All of the other videos are there, numbers 1 through 18. So these, just as a reminder, these Codes of Creation videos are leading up to our April retreat here in Sedona, April 11th through the 14th. And those of you who are planning on attending the retreat, you can use these Codes of Creation in your life right now to begin to practice, to begin to put into motion, to begin to jumpstart the energy of what you're creating. And then when you come to the retreat, we will really go much deeper into all of these Codes of Creation, looking at your life and examining what's working, what's not working, what Codes of Creation perhaps you haven't been utilizing the way you could be, which ones you're strong in, so that you can really get a well-rounded picture of who you are as a creator and how you can enhance your creations. There may be some things that you can add to your creation process that you haven't thought of before, such as drawing the flower of life or the seventh seal with your intention of what you're creating. These little things can add a lot of power and potency to what you're creating. So we're going to cover all of that at the retreat, April 11th through the 14th here in Sedona. The first 4 people to register get a $44 gift certificate to Sedona's premier healthy restaurant. So we definitely hope that you will really feel into your heart and see, am I meant to be there? And if you are, jump on to creationtemple.com/retreat and register today. And thank you again for showing up to these videos, those of you who are watching, and also David and Matthew, thank you for sharing your wisdom today. I know there's lots more where that came from. David also has a website that I'll have him share under the comments so that you guys can find out more information about all of his wisdom and knowledge. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being with me. And I will see you guys in the next video.